CTV News with Caroline Van Vlartigan.
Good evening. The Montreal Victoire have done it and lived up to their name. They have won their first Walter Cup.
What a game to seal it! Victoire! Victoire! Montreal has won their first Walter Cup!
It was a decisive win, 4-0 over Ottawa in Ottawa, and a long-awaited victory for the Victoire. The team had ended the regular season at the top of their league for a third year, but never managed to get to the Cup until now. And they are the first Canadian women's team to do it after 3 seasons of PWHL hockey. Also, a major triumph for Victoire captain Marie-Philippe Poulin, who led her team across the finish line after 2 earlier tries. Here's how Victoire fans at a watch party back in Montreal reacted.
Incredible. Like, you can see all the athletes just super emotive because it is such great event.
Oh man, it's incredible, man. Man, to bring the first Walter Cup to Canada, it took us 3 years. It took us a lot of trial and error, but we finally brought the cup to Montreal, and I couldn't be prouder of the team we put together.
And Victoire captain Marie-Philippe Poulin was also named the playoff MVP tonight. Here's what she had to say about this long-awaited moment after a difficult season in which she was injured but came back to win it all with her teammates.
Not gonna lie, since February, there was ups and downs, and honestly, coming back to this group, just fighting through. It hasn't been easy. Injuries, sickness, a lot of things, but we stuck to it, and we know it's not gonna be easy coming this building. Their fans, this group, they're hard to play against, and they showed up today, but we stayed patient with our game, and truly happy for this group.
And as for the way they did it, well, it took a while, but the Victoire started the scoring at 16 minutes into the second period and never looked back, including a beautiful shorthanded goal by Abby Rock scored on a breakaway while Ottawa had an advantage and Poulin was in the penalty box. From then on, it was Victoire all the way, scoring 2 more goals in the third to take the cup decisively and bring it to Canada.
You know what? It just feels right that Montreal is the first Canadian team to win the Walter Cup, and to see Marie-Philippe Poulin being named MVP after the season she had ups and downs. She was injured at the Olympics. She was playing basically on one leg, but she was able to have a great finals, 3 passes in 4 games, 3 assists in 4 games to be named MVP. So yeah, great achievement for her. I think it was probably the only individual honor she didn't have, basically.
So a very big win and night of celebration for the Victoire and their fans, ending their Walter Cup drought in Ottawa. Perhaps the only thing that might have made it sweeter was doing it at home, but we will take it. And in anticipation of tonight's big game, some students at the study in Westmount were sporting Victoire jerseys earlier today. After the school held a jersey day to celebrate the Habs playoffs, one student, Molly Bowen, asked why the school wasn't also celebrating the PWHL. Well, the school responded with its first Jersey Day in honor of the Victoire, and that caught the attention of the team, and Molly was invited to a Victoire playoff game. Molly organized the Victoire Jersey Day with her best friend, hoping this will become an annual tradition, and why not?
They're also a Montreal team, and we can't just support one. We should probably support both. Women are also really important. They really never give up. They're hardworking. That's what I admire about them.
Some smart girls there. Meantime, the Montreal Canadiens are now also on the road in North Carolina for tomorrow's Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. The Hurricanes swept their opponents in the first 2 rounds, but the Habs have proven they thrive on being on the road and being the underdogs. Here's Kelly Gregg.
The Carolina Hurricanes are moving on to the Eastern Conference Final.
It's been a perfect run. The Carolina Hurricanes have yet to lose a game this postseason. earning 2 shutouts, the first team to start 8-0 since 1985.
I think the Hurricanes expect to be here and they expect to take another step. That's what they want to do.
So does that make the Canadians the underdogs or the underestimated?
There's no reason why we wouldn't see them do as well as they have in playoffs, because the way they played is a playoff grinding game, and it showed those first 2 series and against 2 good teams that they beat, so it's going to be a great challenge.
Carolina finished first in the East. In the playoffs, the combination of Taylor Hall, Logan Stankoven, and Jackson Blake have combined for 31 points, and that's just their second line. During the regular season, the Canadians beat the Canes all 3 times and outscored them 15-8. Carolina's head coach was asked today about that translating into the playoffs.
Certainly hope not. If that trend, we don't want that to continue.
The matchup also pits a 13-year veteran goaltender, Frederik Andersen, against a rookie sensation.
Andersen is maybe the most even-keel guy you'll ever meet. There's not any highs or lows. No matter what happens, he's the same guy every day in practice, after games, whatever. Dobish is an emotional guy. And that can go well or it can go badly for you.
Carolina advanced to the Eastern Conference Final all the way back on May 9th, while Montreal has been battling it out in back-to-back Game 7 series, playing all the way up until Monday. And that brings up the question for Carolina of rest versus rust. But fans are raring to go in 2 very different hockey cultures.
The tradition of Montreal and the Southern hockey tailgating and all that. It's very different vibes, and it's 2 fan bases that do it right in very different ways.
The Canadians have upset 2 teams that finished ahead of them in the standings, now getting ready to face the team that topped the conference and hoping to spoil that perfect playoff run. Kelly Gregg, CTV News.
And the Canadians held a practice and held a press conference today on the road, and they were asked a lot of questions, including how they will face off tomorrow against the Carolina Hurricanes, who have been off since May 9th.
There's definitely benefits of rest. There's benefits of playing, and they probably don't like waiting so long. So we'll see what the result is. Hopefully we can have energy, and I know guys are pretty amped up, so I don't think it's going to be a problem.
And Coach Martin St. Louis was not at practice today for personal reasons. Meantime, back in Montreal, police are warning Montreal Canadiens fans that fireworks will not be tolerated. Game 1 is in North Carolina, but there will be watch parties across the city. And today, Montreal police issued a statement saying there will be 0 tolerance for certain activities, specifically fireworks, smoke bombs, or smoke-generating devices that are banned during gatherings in the city. Offenders face a fine of $500 to $5,000.
The approach is 0 tolerance, and it's not about criminalizing the celebrations, not at all. It's about the simple reality is the devices can cause injuries, trigger crowd movement, like I said, endanger people. So it's just safety. And we've seen this on the field. People are concerned. And people collaborate with us. We've seen it in during the last Habs game on Monday, where people are pointing at people starting the fireworks.
Well, in other news, disgraced Just for Laughs founder Gilbert Rozon has agreed to pay the 9 accusers in his sexual assault civil case a total of $930,000. Rozon is also waiving his right to appeal the civil court judgment against him. The settlement comes 7 weeks after a civil trial that lasted 10 months in which Superior Court Justice Chantal Tremblay ruled Rozon sexually assaulted the women between 1980 and 2004. A criminal defense lawyer said a turning point in the case was when Rozon found out that he could not use the women's previous sexual histories with him as evidence in the case.
There was a very important decision made regarding the constitutionality of a section of the civil code, rather, which basically made it impossible for a defendant to raise the sexual history of a complainant, much like in criminal court. Although in criminal court you can get leave to cross-examine on sexual history if you can meet certain criteria. This was argued to be unconstitutional. Mr. Rozon was unsuccessful.
And a spokesperson for the lawyers representing the women declined to comment this evening. The Nature Conservancy of Canada has partnered with a municipality north of Montreal to protect a huge tract of land. An area of Mille-Îles on the site of Lac Tamaracuda, nearly 300 hectares of natural habitat will be protected while maintaining public access for the community. The area is home to many tree species, wetlands, and birds. Protecting the site will also help reduce greenhouse gases. Hydro-Quebec has a plan to lower the electricity bills for some low-income renters. The idea is to get more landlords to invest in heat pumps and then pass on the savings to their tenants. But will it work? Here's Matt Gilmore.
They're efficient and effective, and Hydro-Quebec is ready to spend big to have them installed in rental units across the province.
That measures will result in nearly 120,000 households that will have access to high-performance heat pumps.
The subsidy is for landlords whose tenants pay their own electricity bill. Hydro-Quebec will cover up to 55% of the purchase and installation costs on the condition the tenants benefit from the savings.
That will decrease their electricity bill by about 20%, which is about $250 a year.
The Quebec Landlords Association says in principle it's a great idea, but questions whether the incentive is enough to get landlords to act.
Remains to be seen the effect on the rent, and the maintenance of those equipment might be costly.
Maintenance costs cannot be passed on to tenants, and Hydro-Quebec says it will be monitoring to make sure the subsidies don't lead to rent increases and rent evictions.
Hopefully we'll be able to mitigate the risk.
Nearly half of the $350 million investment will come from the government of Quebec. The economy minister calls it a good deal for landlords.
Having heat pumps in your apartment block will give it more value, and it will, we think, make it more attractive also.
I don't think that it's going to add value to the building unless it raises the rent. The value of a building is mainly the rent. It's a business.
Martin Messier says the association will run the numbers before recommending the program to its members. But the environment minister suggests eventually landlords might not have a choice.
We're targeting obviously the buildings because the buildings have not gone to that energy transition fully, so we are giving them that incentive. Eventually they'll have to do that transition as well.
The program is part of a much larger 10-year, $10 billion plan to make Quebec more energy efficient and relieve pressure on the grid. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
People in a condo in Lachine say they've been without hot water now for 20 days, but building management is promising that relief is on the way. Here's Sweeta Rassi.
A kettle, a bucket, and lots of patience. That's how Amanda Savoy has been showering for the past 3 weeks.
We're trying our best to see if we can go to different families' houses to shower from time to time when we're kind of fed up of having a bucket shower.
Savoy says it all started on May 1st when she heard a noise in the hallway.
I opened the door, and that's when I saw just so much water just pouring down from the ceiling. At that point, I immediately called 911.
Since then, residents in this condo building in Lachine have been without hot and potable water. Savoy has been getting through by constantly boiling water and drinking from plastic bottles. Outside in the hallway, walls have been gutted, insulation stripped, while work is being done to find out the cause of the break. Residents were given the option to turn the hot water back on, but they were told that if they do, there could be another leak. So Savoy says they decided to keep it off. What has frustrated her the most is the lack of communication.
We're not taken seriously at all. Like, honestly, we're left in the complete dark.
The building's property management company disagrees, saying they have been in communication with owners.
The transparency and the reactivity of my team was pretty on the ball.
CEO Marc Morin says given the scope of the problem, the timeline is not out of the ordinary. He says 2 pipes in the building collapsed. The cause, however, is still under investigation.
They're trying their best to do it as fast as possible, but they also have fiduciary duties to make sure that the building is repaired properly and addressed in the proper way.
Morin says it will likely take 3 to 4 months for everything to go back to normal. Sweeterassi, CTV News.
Well, 2 new polls seem to show that the new premier and CAQ leader Christine Frechette is giving her party a boost. A new Léger poll shows support for the CAQ is now at 22%, up 5 points from last month. The PQ is still in first place, but down a point at 30%, and the Liberals are second at 28%. And another poll from Main Street Research has support for Christine Frechette and the Liberals higher. In that survey, almost 25% of Quebecers said they would vote for the CAQ. The Liberals are in first place with 30% support. The PQ sits at almost 23%.
First of all, quite impressive numbers. It shows to me that the public opinion right now is very volatile. Anything can happen. And it confirms to me that we're heading towards a 3-way race in Quebec politics, especially in certain regions where we're going to see some tight races there. And in a 3-way race, when everybody is either around or under 30%, anything can happen in the next election, and probably a minority government if the election were held tomorrow.
And still to come, the Hippodrome site could see a lot of growth soon, and not only in housing.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
Well, something uniquely Montreal is being planted on the former Blue Bonnets racetrack, and that's where the city has major plans for a new neighborhood. Here's Matt Grillo.
Garden trowel in hand, this group is planting the latest batch of Montreal melons, trying to produce the rare fruit that disappeared decades ago. Organized by Multicaf, a Montreal food bank, this is the 3rd year the Blue Bonnets micro farm plants the Montreal melon, trying not only to recreate the look, but also the taste.
I think that it's going to take a little while before we get to something that is really closer to what they used to have back then.
It's not easy to do. Pierre Cardinal says his grandfather produced Montreal melons a century ago. There's no one alive today who knew the melons of that era, he says. All of this work is being done on the grounds of the Hippodrome. But the city and province have big plans for this land. The Namur Hippodrome project has been promised, and the development would create 20,000 new homes. Quebec even tabled Bill 22 to help the city develop the Hippodrome site. In a statement to CTV News, a spokesperson from the mayor's office said, Namur Hippodrome sector represents a major opportunity. We are following developments in Quebec City very closely around Bill 22, as it could play an important role in helping accelerate the deployment of this project and provide greater flexibility in how it is delivered. Even with these major plans, the micro farm hopes it can have a space alongside some new neighbors.
Our goal is to be considered by the city to be part of the project. And what the Melon Montréal does, it's also acting as a kind of a mascot for that.
And these gardeners are hoping to produce the perfect Montreal melon.
We have some indication, the color, the taste, sugar taste. So we'll see. It's an experience. I want to taste one at the end of summer is the reason I'm here.
They plan to harvest this crop in late August, and they hope they're one step closer to recreating a piece of Montreal's history. Matt Grillo, CTV News.
Well, as we mentioned last night, Quebec's oyster industry is in trouble. Laurence Bisson-Dubois explains.
Shucking oysters is usually second nature for Zach Eberts, but these days, getting his hands on them is the hard part.
You'd always get top-notch oysters, and all of a sudden we were finding a lot of issues with they would show up and right away there would be dead oysters.
The industry is being hit hard by 2 diseases spreading through oyster farms on Canada's east coast. The culprits, MCX and Dermo. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency first flagged the diseases in 2024. Now they are wiping out a significant portion of the harvest along the East Coast. Ebert says it's forced him to scale back his selection, but he says oyster farmers are paying the biggest price.
They're pulling up cages and there's 90 to 100% mortality.
And because oysters can take years to reach maturity, some farms could be feeling the impact for a long time. At Poissonnerie Atwater, Jean-Sébastien Bernard says things rapidly got worse last fall.
We threw a lot of oysters at that time, at least 20% of a case, so 20 oysters per case.
Now every single oyster gets a closer inspection before it reaches a customer. First comes the tap test, then the smell test. Bernard says a full recovery could still be years away.
This is what's happened down the States, so it takes 2 years down until the oyster is going to find his way to fight the bacteria.
With local supply unpredictable, some shops are turning to European and American oysters to keep shells on ice. But Ebert says political tensions are making some customers reluctant.
We literally would have clients come in, I can't find oysters anywhere in the city. Do you have oysters? Yeah, where are they from? They're from, East Coast, U.S. I don't want them, and they'd walk out of the store.
With no quick fix in sight, many in the industry are bracing for a long road ahead. Laurence Brisson-Dubreuil, CTV News.
Still ahead, when a large stranger shows up not only at the door, but inside it.
Menswear provided by Ernest. Elevate your style with Ernest. For breaking news and local news that matters to you, download the CTV News app right now by scanning the QR code on your screen using your smartphone. Or you can also go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Well, we started off strong with another above seasonal start to the day. Temperatures of 21 and 22 degrees are what we were seeing across much of southern Quebec this morning. And we moved up from there. Our normal daytime high has moved up since yesterday as well, but not higher than our temperature that we hit earlier today. That was at 24 degrees. But as they say, all good things must come to an end. So we are looking at a cooler evening tonight. That's a low of +6, along with a few clouds. And for our wake-up temperature tomorrow, a very different story with that temperature of +7. But good news insofar as the skies. We're expecting to see loads of sunshine coming in, continuing into the afternoon. And by afternoon, we should be up to that daytime high of 17. So our futurecast showing us that winds moving through the area will be blowing those clouds apart, making way for that sunshine to come pouring in for greater Montreal and much of the province. Friday is looking like a warmer day, so we're seeing a high of 19 along with even more sunshine as Grand Prix festivities kick off. You're going to want to enjoy Friday because on Saturday is when we are seeing some clouds moving in. So along with that, forecasting a high of 22 degrees. And then on Sunday, we start to see some precipitation following. So that's a 40% chance of roughly 2 millimeters coming in on Sunday. We could get another 4 potentially on Monday. So you'll want to keep that in mind if you are headed out and to the tracks. And so far as those daytime highs, though, looking at temperatures in the mid to high teens. So keep that in mind. And we're expecting to see something similar in the evenings as well. By this time next week, good news, we should be back to these temperatures in the mid-20s. So forecasting highs of 26 degrees on both Tuesday and Wednesday, along with sun and clouds.
There was a moose on the loose in Trois-Rivières that somehow ended up in someone's living room. This juvenile moose seemed to walk right into the home of a family that may have left the screen door open. We're not sure exactly how he got in or how he got coaxed out again, because whoever recorded this did not include sound, but perhaps they were just screaming the whole time. Anyway, the moose did somehow get out again, but not before making quite a bit of a mess. And as if there wasn't enough to love about classic Montreal bagels, Here's another. The folks at St. Viateur Bagel have made a Stanley Cup out of bagels. The caption below, "Ça sent la coupe," with a cup emoji and hearts in bleu, blanc, and rouge. And we've certainly seen a lot of Habs flags and jerseys and hats, but this cup takes the cake, or should we say the bagel. Now they just need to make one in the shape of the Walter Cup as well. And speaking of, we're going to leave you with the PWHL champs, the Montreal Victoire, celebrating their Walter Cup tonight in Ottawa. Thanks for staying up late with us. Have a good night.